All right. So you're trying to sell your property and you want to know what are all these fees or all the costs. You've heard of something called closing costs, particularly if you're trying to sell your property for cash. What can you expect? What's going on, everyone? Courtney Rollins with the Life in Transitions Expert Podcast, here with some more content that hopefully helps you. We try to focus on helping families through big transitions in their life, and certainly selling a property is a big transition. It's not like you're, selling or trading marbles. So we need to make sure that we are pretty informed. I must say, disclaimer: I'm not an attorney or a financial advisor, and I'm not giving advice in that way. I'm just sharing my experience and trying to, help as many people as I can. From that Zig Ziglar school, if you help as many people get what they want, you'll hopefully eventually be able to get what you want. So, serving and and sharing as much information as possible is my mo. And so today we are going to look at what are the closing costs when you're selling a house for cash in North Carolina. And so let's take a look at some of those things. All right. So what are the closing costs when you're selling a house for cash? All right. So one is, and again, I'll have six up here, but these may apply to you. Sometimes they may not. It really depends on what your situation is. And this is one that may apply or may not. One, if you have a real estate agent, then the real estate commission is going to be a significant amount. It could be anywhere from low as 3%, 6%, 8%. It really depends on what your agreement is. And it's typically paid by the seller. Now, in cash transactions, there are times where, like for instance, for us, since we are direct to seller uh, buyers, we don't use a real estate agent, so you get to save some of that money and put more of that back into your pocket. But the real estate agent commission can be a significant part of that. Also, in North Carolina, you have attorneys who handle the closing. Some states have escrow companies that are licensed. They all do great jobs, but they do cost money. They get paid for their time, for their document preparation, preparation, make sure the title search is clear, and make sure the smooth transactions. And their fees can really vary depending on how complex the actual transaction is. You also will need to part of the closing cost is the title search and the insurance. So you need to make sure that a title search is cleared. For instance, I'm dealing with the title issue now where there's a break in the chain of title and it's taking the attorneys, some really elbow grease and some mind power to make sure they can work through this so that I can be assured that I have clear title so I know I or whoever my partner ends up being are the actual owners. So title search costs money and the insurance actually costs money to make sure it's insured just in case someone's wrong or it's um just you just need to have it. You need to have it. There's also transfer tax. In North Carolina, there's taxes imposed on when you sell a property, and they're typically paid by the seller. But again, these tax can depend on the county you lived in, where the property is located, and yeah, so expect to have transfer tax. You also need to make sure that the property is recorded, and so you want to make sure that you have recording. Uh, that the recording fees will cost, and so whatever the county clerk's office charges for that they'll be there. Also, sometimes there's repairs that need to be done. The buyer may request a home inspection, and so that's something that you want to expect. And usually, the buyer would cover that. And yeah, so those things to think about there. So let's go back. Real estate agent commission may be a part of the closing cost. The attorney fee may be a part of the closing cost. The title search and insurance may be a part of it. Transfer taxes, courting fees, home inspection and repairs. Um, home inspection and repairs. And one cool thing about it is when you're working with a cash buyer like a state pro service, we pay all the closing costs. As I said before, we are usually direct to seller. Sometimes we may work with an agent, but quite often we don't. So they get to save that funds and all the other closing costs we pay for. And so definitely reach out to the State Pro Service if you're looking for a cash buyer in North Carolina. We definitely can work with you, or make sure that you connect with a great reputable cash buyer, and they really should be paying all the closing costs. That should almost be part of their spiel. We pay all the closing costs, yada yada yada. So that's a really really good thing because it puts more money into your pocket at the end of the at closing. Another thing I would say is I can't quite remember the other thing I was going to say. I should have had better notes. As far as us paying closing cost, John Brown. I wish I can't quite remember it, but if you have any questions, please reach out to me at State Pro Service. And if I do remember what I was going to say, I'll put it in the show notes. All right. So at any rate, hope this is helpful to you. And yeah, let your light shine. Life in transitions experts. Cheers.